Mom and Dad. I've been at a sleepaway camp, and I'm getting very scared.
At summer camp, there's nothing more terrifying than the threat of mosquito bites, poison ivy, hiking, and bad camp food. Unless, of course, your camp has run amok of a murderer, stalking and killing both the campers and the staff one by one. On this episode of View the Right Thing, Wes, Steve, and special guest Devin pack their sleeping bags, do some archery, and try to survive the night at Camp Arawak in 1983's Sleepaway Camp and its 2008 sequel, Return to Sleepaway Camp. And now it's time for View the Right Thing.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of View
Halloween
the
to Jaws.
Come on.
View the Right Thing.
Constantly with you.
I can't help it. I'm a jokester.
Steve,
I'm like Jared Leto's the jokester.
I have a surprise for you.
A surprise?
Yeah, look to your left. Yeah, perfect. We have a special
Whoa.
guest, Devin Dygert.
What?
Hello.
Hi, Devin.
How's
good
it going?
Evening, Devin.
I'm so excited that you're here.
Yeah,
I'm pretty excited
me too.
Devin's always cool.
Devin's always cool.
99.9% of the time.
Yeah.
99.92% of the time.
Okay, I'll go
Give
with it.
yourself that extra 200.
Actually looking at this box that says kills 99.9%
Oh.
of germs.
Nice.
You know.
We have cleaning supplies out. If only we used them. So, Devin's here. Devin is a friend of ours. He's. Do you want to tell us a little about yourself? Like you're a musician, you're a photographer, you're a man of many talents.
Yeah. What don't I do, man?
Right.
Well, right now, I would say musician is the title that I'm going.
Well, you are a musician, that's for
pursuing.
sure. I've heard your music.
Yeah. You directed my video.
And seen your music video.
Yeah, it's all out there.
Listener, have you seen Dope by Devin Dygert?
Directed by Wes.
Hi.
Look it up. Look it up right now.
Yeah, but give it a view on YouTube. Give it a view.
Give it.
View the Right Thing.
Yeah.
YouTube.com/DID.
D-I-D. What is the
How do you
I
spell?
stand
How do you
for?
spell?
My initials. A.
No, don't really write that in the URL, people.
No, it's my initials. DID.
Oh, okay.
YouTube.com/DID.
Devin Iliad Dygert.
Iliad. You know that I feel like that'd be better. It's Isaac, which I actually hated.
Oh, Isaac's a great middle
Isaac's
name.
a nice name.
For some reason, I hated it when I was younger. I told my mom, and she, started to cry.
Oh, no.
Isaac's
So why'd you
always been
name me this horrible name? But now
sad.
I like it. But because I didn't like it when I was younger, I actually don't know how it's spelt.
It's a great middle name, though.
Yeah, I've never spelt it in my life. I've never written it in my life. Like my ID doesn't even have it.
Whoa. It's not just good old ISAAC like in the Bible?
It might be. I don't know. I've never
Or
actually
like
asked
the,
my mom.
like
I'd
the
have to
preacher
look-
kid from Children of the Corn?
No, what's the biblical version?
ISAAC.
Oh, then that's what it is.
Cool.
You don't know how to spell your middle name?
No, I've never had this. This sounds horrible, but I've never had to spell it because
I
I
mean,
hate it.
What about
when
for
I
your
was
driver's
younger.
license? It should be on your driver's license.
No, it's not even on there.
Really?
It's not even on there.
It is no. It's like I don't have it.
It's like it doesn't exist.
But I like it now. Sorry, Mom.
Yeah, Isaac's a good name.
I appreciate
Isaac
it now.
Mizrahi. Isaac. Wait, I was thinking Allen Iverson.
No, that's a basketball player.
There's a famous Isaac in the NBA, right? Isaac.
You thinking Isaiah Thomas?
Isaac Newton?
No,
Wait.
I like Isaiah Thomas, but I thought there was a famous Isaac in the
Chris Isaac?
NBA. Chris Isaac, also musician, another musician.
Oh.
Isaac Hayes, who we just saw on screen.
Jason Isaacs, the
Jason
legendary
Isaacs.
actor.
Wait, who was the Isaac on screen?
He was the
Isaac Hayes?
chef in the movie we just watched.
Isaac Hayes, who played chef on South Park, played chef in the...
That's great.
Should we let
We'll get
Devin
to
tell
that.
people what movies we just watched?
Yeah, they should know by now.
You
but
should
it's
know.
on the
Dear listener.
title of the podcast
Yeah.
episode. But go ahead.
What
So-
legendary movies did we just watch?
We won't get into them
We
yet.
watched Sleepaway Camp
And?
Return to Sleepaway Camp.
Oh,
delicious.
snap.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
But before we get into that,
In that order, we watched them.
yeah, we didn't watch them out of
Yeah.
order.
We didn't watch the middle two. And nobody should. No, I'm kidding. Go right ahead.
So have either of you guys been to the theater recently.
I was in the theater twice on Saturday.
What'd you see?
Twice.
Technically, after midnight, in the very, very, very early a.m., Saturday the 14th, I was in a theater. I was at the Vista Sunset watching Friday the 13th. So
On Saturday the 14th?
I stayed up very late, and then the movie started at midnight. And so Friday the 13th, my first time seeing it on the big screen, just as scary and corny as it's always been.
The first one?
The very first one.
It's interesting whenever people do screenings of that on Friday the 13th because, I get it. In some ways, I feel like they should do the first one.
Yeah.
But it's not the one that people like. It's not the iconic.
Sure.
You know.
What would the iconic one be?
Well, Jason is the iconic killer, right? So, and the fact that he's not really in the movie.
But boy, oh boy, when he is in the movie, oh man.
And if you were to ask me, I would say Part 6, Jason Lives, is my
No
favorite.
way. Part 4.
Part 4 is pretty good.
The final chapter.
Part 4 is pretty good.
You got Crispin Glover and Corey Feldman and a Jason movie.
Yeah.
That's pretty great.
He's not a dead fuck.
I forget the actress's name, but the brunette from Weird Science. I forget her name right now, but she's wonderful. She's also in Part 4. That's a home run for me right there.
I love Weird Science.
Then
Part 4 has some problems with it though. There's some real
it's a Jason movie. They all have problems.
No, but I mean, it has some real like pacing like lulls in it.
Of course.
Where it's like, oh, but Part 6, just murder after murder. And let me just bring up, in Part 6, they bring the camp back, and there's actually children at the camp.
Yeah.
It's the only one with children at a camp.
Yeah, that has the legendary scene where Jason like wanders into the kid's cabin, and you're like, "What's he gonna do,
like
man?"
A kid has a book that they like. It's like far beyond their reading level in the scene too.
Isn't there telekinesis in that one?
No, that's 7.
That's 7.
That's Part 7.
Okay, I remember that.
I thought 7 was
The New
Takes
Blood.
Manhattan.
No, Part 8 is Takes Manhattan.
Okay.
Part 9 is Jason Goes to Hell, and Part 10 is Jason X.
X.
I don't think I saw Takes Manhattan. Maybe
People like the kills in it, but it's really not smart.
They take a boat from a lake to New York City, which is an odd choice.
No, maybe I did
Their
see
lake
that.
connects to, the Hudson. I don't know.
I watched them all like pretty close together last Halloween.
Oh yeah, didn't you binge them with Daniel Weiss
Yeah.
and Charlene? Whoa.
Were you there for some of them?
No, because Jason and I, we have a sordid history. You know what else I saw in the movie theater?
Oh, what's that?
Blade Runner.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, was that
I wanted
good?
to take as long as possible to say the name like the movie did.
Yeah. It takes a long time for the title to pop up on the screen.
No,
Spoilers.
it's a long movie.
The first Blade Runner is a long movie.
The
and
first
it's not
Blade Runner is a long movie.
It's not even long running time. It's long pacing wise.
It's long pacing.
Feels like it's like a 3-day journey.
A little bit. And this movie, did you see it yet?
I haven't seen it.
Okay, this is all I'm going to say.
I'm not a big Blade Runner fan.
This is all I'm going to say, and it's not a spoiler. I am a fairly big Blade Runner fan, and I really liked a lot of this movie.
Well, you like Dune also, which is also a snorefest.
No, I don't like Dune.
You live Dune.
I enjoy Dune because I like the story that is Dune.
Yeah.
And so dipping into the movie is just a fun little way to revisit the story. I don't like the movie. I'd say that to David Lynch's face.
How could you watch a movie so many times but not like it?
I mean, I'm not always like paying 100% attention to it.
All right, fair
You
enough.
know, I might put it on and take a nap, and then when I wake up,
so excited to
he's
show me
fighting
Dune.
Sting. It's a must-see movie.
I don't think I've seen it.
You're okay.
See,
It's not really a
It's
must-see
a
movie.
must-see movie that you don't
I
need
was
to see.
being very sarcastic when
you
I
can
said
listen to our long podcast about Dune.
this is my review of Blade Runner, no spoilers at all. But
Okay.
the first hour,
Yeah, doesn't need to be there.
well, no, but it's a 2-hour and 44-minute movie.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
The first hour could have very easily been 30 to 40 minutes. Very easily. And again, no spoilers, but they spend a ton of time just lingering on these really, really beautiful shots, but just lingering.
That's a lot of the first movie is like that.
Silently. And it's a bit of a chore. But
Do you think it would have not felt like an appropriate follow-up if they had speedy pacing in that first hour?
I think it would have been fine. I really think, because also with the first movie, you're learning about that whole world, whereas this is a sequel. So we've already had a taste of the world. We don't need to completely we don't need to wade into the pool.
Yeah.
We could jump into the 3.
But a lot of people are
section.
seeing this movie without having seen the first one.
That's a silly idea.
You know, our friend of the podcast, who's not been on yet, but friend of the podcast,
Rick Schroeder.
Skylar Caleb
of Awaken the Shadow Man.
And of
Waking.
the podcast hosted by Skylar Caleb. He hasn't seen the first one.
Well, he watched the sequel with me yesterday.
Yes, and I saw him post about it, and he was like, it was really slow.
And
was the first one slow? And I was like, he hasn't seen that first one. That's strange.
I didn't see his post about that. I was with him when he came up with the original post, which was more like Blade Crawler, I think.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't see that.
Or maybe Blade Walker. But I didn't know that he admitted in the post that he had not seen the original.
It might have been in a comment, like reply to the post.
Wow.
I'm not 100% sure, but...
So my official review of Blade Runner, first hour, should have been 30 minutes, and I wish I had been high.
Did you fall asleep during it?
Wes.
The answer is yes.
Of course. But only within that first hour, when there were tons of very long, very, very silent moments. I mean, there was music, of course, but oh boy, so many long, lingering shots. Denis Villeneuve, I know you listen. You're a beautiful filmmaker.
He doesn't listen to
This is a great movie, but it could have been an hour 94 minutes as opposed to 2 hours 44 minutes.
That's also his style too, though, is that really slow, thoughtful pace.
Yeah, very true.
Devin, you went to the movies, right?
Yeah, I saw Happy Death Day.
I really want to see. I want to see that more than I want to see Blade Runner. People are probably really angry at that statement, but
now is this the movie where the guy goes into the future and watches Happy Death Day and then travels back in time and makes Groundhog Day?
Yes.
Knew it. I knew it.
Yeah, exactly, actually, which was surprising because I didn't get that from the trailer.
It was a documentary.
It was a documentary about time travel. It does look pretty good. Is it good?
I really enjoyed it.
Cool.
I thought it was a great comedy, and then I also jumped a little bit, and then I was still entertained. I thought the characters, I liked the acting, I liked the script. I was happy with it all. Like it's
That's
fun.
awesome.
You're not. Yeah, I would say it's a very fun movie that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We also went to a maze beforehand, but loaded up on a bunch of candy. So there was candy and popcorn, and then there was a bar. So we all had drinks. But I will say, even without all of that, I still would have probably enjoyed it. I just really loved it because I was in a great mood.
Cool.
Well,
nothing wrong with that at all.
That's a big piece of like whether people like movies or not. A lot of the time is what, even if it's not something that they consciously know about, if there's something like on the back of their mind, or they've had a fight with their boyfriend or girlfriend, all those things can like dramatically affect whether they like the movie or not.
Yeah,
and
very
like
true.
Had they not had that fight, they might have liked that movie.
The great thing is, though, a great movie can take whatever you're feeling and change it.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
Something that can really transport you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really want to see that movie.
I mean, I liked it. I enjoyed it. It was really fun. It was just a very fun, entertaining ride.
Yeah. I have a prediction about who the killer is in the movie, but I'm not going to say. Because,
Who do you think?
I'll keep it to myself. I'll tell
maybe
you.
my cheek will move or something.
I'll tell you when we're not on. I don't want to say it on the podcast.
Is it Andy McDowell?
Planted. Yes.
I knew it.
It
I
was,
literally just forgot
Stephen
who the killer was
Tobolowsky.
for like 1 second.
Yeah.
What if it really is Tobolowsky, man?
Oh my gosh.
Man. Wait, you're the killer? Bing! That's how that scene would go.
Funny. He like pushes him down the stairs.
Yeah.
Watch that first step.
It's a doozy.
I will say, I was happy with the ending,
Good.
which I don't think is always a thing. So I will say, I was very happy with how it all wrapped up.
Transpired.
Yeah.
Did either of you see any trailers?
Man, I saw tons of trailers.
I saw the Jigsaw trailer.
Yeah. Does it look good? It looks like a tired franchise.
Well, I mean, I'm just hyped. I'm hyped that it's back.
You just love creepy stuff.
Yeah, and I'm thinking you had like 10 years. I think it was like 10 years.
Has it been 10 years?
No, it
since
can't
the
have been
last
10 years.
Saw?
Really?
Okay, well, I guess it was 10 years in the movie.
Oh,
So,
sure.
I guess in my head I was like, oh yeah, it's been 10 years.
Because I'm pretty sure there's a Saw movie has come out since I've lived here, and I haven't lived here 10 years.
Well, it's been a minute, so I feel like they have time. If they did it right, but I'm guessing they probably didn't sit and spend 6 or 7 years working on it, but I'm assuming in my head that's what they did, and now they've got this masterpiece. But I also saw the Insidious trailer, and I'm super psyched for that because it's James Wan back.
Is it a sequel?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Well, because the last one was a prequel.
No, this one I'm pretty sure is a sequel.
Okay.
I don't know. He goes back and forth. No, it is a sequel.
It's weird because they called the Insidious 3 Insidious 3, but it was a prequel to...
This is the one
Insidious
because the
Chapter 3.
the woman who plays the, I guess, medium kind
Yeah,
of.
she was the main character of the part 3, right?
Yeah. So now she's back, and she's got to go further into the further.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Okay.
So
Is Lee Wanell, is Specs back in it? The guy with the glasses, her assistant?
Yes, I'm pretty sure they are. I can't remember. In my head, I have like...
It'd be weird if he wasn't. So,
blanket of it,
so
but-
Lee Wanell and James Wan are like kind of partners, and Lee Wanell writes a lot of the stuff.
I'm pretty sure he was in it really briefly. They didn't...
He always
didn't
writes a part
focus
for
on-
himself.
Yeah, they were more focusing on... it's something with a key.
Okay.
And
Something with a key.
Do you remember the first Saw movie?
I remember the ending.
Do you remember Carrie Elwes is trapped in the bathroom with another dude on the other side of the room?
Is that the room that they're in
It's like
the whole
it's like
movie?
Yeah, the whole
Yeah,
movie.
yeah.
There's a dude at the other end.
Yeah.
That's Lee Wanell who wrote the movie.
Ah.
And then he specs in the Insidious movies.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, he always writes himself in.
It's always crazy
guy.
that I think that one of the first films, I don't know if it was his first, but like one of the first films that James Wan did was Saw.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely their breakout.
So good, though. So good. I need to do a Saw day before the new one comes
We talked
out.
about that last episode, right? Like how it was like this kind of groundbreaking thing at the time. Like nobody had really...
I remember watching it in the theater and just gasping out loud with the rest of the audience, and I was in so much shock.
It's sort of like a Sixth Sense kind of moment
Yeah.
where you get the rug kind of pulled out from underneath you.
It's hard to
Yeah.
capture
Whoa.
that stuff since The Sixth Sense.
I never had my Sixth Sense moment because I saw Scary Movie before I saw Sixth Sense.
Oh,
bummer.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, my brother spoiled it for me.
So then by the time I actually watched it and like the famous line was said, it was just laughable, and I literally just kind of laughed to myself.
Yeah.
I still like the movie. It's still good, but it had been, it had been taken away everything from like watching 7 parodies and years of people making fun of it, and then finally seeing it
How many times have you seen Sixth Sense?
once.
We should watch it again.
I'm down.
You know their color psychology is really important in that film.
I'm down to watch it.
yeah?
I want to watch Unbreakable again too.
Oh, I love
Unbreakable is my favorite M. Night Shyamalan movie, and I can't wait for
I
Glass.
don't remember anything of it.
I can't wait for Glass.
That's what the next one's going to be called?
It's called Glass, yeah,
There's
and it's
Unbreakable. And what's the
Nice.
second one?
it will split.
There's no second one. Well, yeah.
No, there was.
Spoiler alert.
Wasn't
sorry.
there Unbreakable? No, I was going to say that, but
There was Unbreakable,
It's been
then
enough
there
time
was
passed.
Shatterproof, and then there was
No,
Durex.
He's
No,
just saying stuff.
There's Unbreakable and there's a second
Rubber-
one.
No,
Made.
there isn't a second one. So there was
Tupperware.
a long time ago. There was
Tupperware.
a lot of talk that it was going to be a trilogy because like what. It's funny because Unbreakable is not the movie we're supposed to be talking about, but I'm going to anyways because I love it that much.
I love it too.
But don't spoil anything because I don't remember anything.
Okay, I won't spoil anything. Unbreakable is
Next week's
the
movie.
premise of sort of that film is, all hero films are told in 3 parts, as a lot of movies are. There's sort of the origin and figuring out who they are. There's the villain coming in and creating a conflict, and then there's that resolution. Unbreakable, the premise of Unbreakable is it's only the first act. So it's just him figuring out who he is in the film.
Yeah.
And that's what it is from the beginning to the very end. And so there was talk for a long time that there were going to be 3 films, that there was going to be Unbreakable, Breakable, which would be about the villain, and then Broken, which would be the resolution.
Wait, I thought that was just
So-
Patton Oswalt's idea.
No, that was an idea that came out a long time ago.
Oh,
A
okay.
lot of people have said that, like right after that movie came out. But there was a lot of talk that he was going to do other movies.
Yeah. Thank God we got Lady in the Water.
So, spoiler alert, I'm going to talk a little bit more about Split. So, the premise of Split was the original premise of Unbreakable. And
That's the prequel.
no, but it's not. But
Well, not
so
prequel, but
so the conflict. So I don't want to say because you don't want to say anything about Unbreakable, but there's a conflict in Unbreakable, and that was going to be the crux. Was Split.
Whoa.
Okay.
And he ended up doing away with that, but he kind of held that idea, and then he came back to it with Split, and then now we have Glass coming out, which I'm really excited for. Which is they've already said it. Samuel L. Jackson's back, and Bruce Willis is back,
great.
and it's actually kind of a unique thing because it doesn't happen. It used to happen all the time, but it doesn't happen anymore. 2 studios are making this movie together.
Oh, wow.
2 competing studios. Yeah, because Disney is the studio that owns the rights to Unbreakable. But Split, I believe, is Universal. So Universal and Disney are making this movie together.
Whoa.
Amazing.
I think
That
it's
mean
Universal.
we get a ride.
Don't quote me
I
on
hope it's not just
Universal,
like-
but I think it's Universal.
I hope it's not a ton of compromising though.
No, I don't think so. I think like the indicator is in Split. I don't want to talk about any connections, but what connections there are in Split, I think that was an indicator that they're on good terms with this.
I'll tell you what's a good indication. Spider-Man Homecoming.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I think
That
more
was Disney having to work together with Sony, right?
Yeah, and I think people and Disney keeping their hands out of it, like letting
Right.
Marvel do their thing and not like trying to finagle anything extra out of it. You know,
Yeah.
they let Marvel. I mean, they had sort of that split where people in Marvel were really upset with the direction things were going because of other producers kind of putting their hands in their pot and trying to mix things up and say like, oh no, we should do this, and Disney allowed Marvel to completely pull away and be sort of their own entity as far as this Marvel Studios, and letting Kevin Feige, I don't know how you say it, Kevin F, the orchestrator of all of this Marvel stuff, just letting him just have the reins and do his thing, which is cool, which is really smart on their part. So
Kevin, if you're listening, great job.
Yeah. So back to trailers. I
saw the trailer for How to Kill a Sacred Deer, or The Killing of a Sacred Deer.
Killing of a Sacred Deer. It's
Colin
Farrell.
Farrell and Nicole Kidman. And it's
another guy, too.
Maybe the worst trailer I've ever seen in my life.
The movie's supposed to be really good.
I want the movie to be great.
I think it's supposed to be weird.
The trailer pisses me off.
I'm sorry. I'll have to check it out.
To no end.
I really want to see it.
Yeah.
I think it could be an excellent trailer without the song.
Oh, so Steve has this thing with music and trailers. So can I ask a question?
Yes.
Is it a cover song?
In a way, yes.
And is it done in a moody, angsty way?
Absolutely.
Steve hates that.
Here's the thing.
So like Lord covering like Everybody Wants to Rule the World or something, like Steve is not a fan of that kind of.
Okay.
This is even worse. Because this is just a little girl voice with like no background music at all, slowly singing what I'm guessing is a maybe 6-year-old Coldplay song that isn't even one of their like biggest hits. Like of all the big hits Coldplay has had, I'm not even entirely sure this was a Coldplay song. That's how almost unrecognizable it was.
All right.
And it's just a little girl.
What song is it?
Singing it like this. I don't want to know. But all I know is a few bars in, I was like, isn't that Coldplay? I mean, at least with the Lord motif that I can't stand. At least, A, I love Lord. B, at least they're using iconic songs for that.
Sure.
And this was like, let's take a song that people sort of have heard over the last few years and just have a musicless kid sing. It drove me nuts. Drove me absolutely nuts. I hope the kid's okay, but it drove me nuts. I'm shouting. I understand I'm shouting.
I have an idea for our horror film. I'm not going to talk about it on the podcast, obviously.
We're going to have
that would feature a song being sung kind of in that style.
Marilyn Manson singing Daydream Believer.
Yep.
I love it.
I'm into it.
Not too far away.
I love it.
Any other trailers? Anything else just jump out at you?
Oh, man. Oh, gosh. I just watched something. Oh, New Mutants. That's interesting.
Oh, yeah, I saw that one.
No, I didn't see that trailer. I'm not a big X-Men guy, so I'm like...
I want it more.
Here's the thing. I can't really recount anything that went down in it.
Yeah.
But are you familiar with the overall...
I mean, I know who they are and stuff, yeah.
Oh, not even that. The trailer, and I'm not sure if this is real or if the trailer's just throwing us a really good curveball. It looks like it's going to be an insanely scary horror movie. But it's about the New Mutants of the X-Men.
I'd be real surprised.
I thought it needed to be darker. I was
Really?
like, this is too commercial and bright.
I'd be real surprised
enough.
if it was...
But you know, after Logan, which, I mean, this is probably not like a popular opinion, but after Logan, I love that. So now I'm like, I need every superhero film in any way to
I don't
look like that.
I find that an unpopular. I don't know if that's an unpopular opinion, but I think that's the reason that DC is in the trouble that they're in. I think Wonder Woman was a huge departure from that idea of like, let's make Superman moody and dark and gritty. Like, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work for those characters. Some characters it does. Like Logan, especially Old Man Logan, is this like he's given up on life and he's this sort of like
his claws have gotten slower.
Yeah.
I don't need it like moody. I just like that it felt very raw and it felt very
yeah, but like I don't want Superman to be that way.
Dark.
I don't want Spider-Man to be that way.
Maybe not Superman and Spider-Man. Batman, yeah.
Yes, but I at the same time I want the birds are going crazy outside. They
Is
do
that what that is?
Yeah.
I thought it was somebody.
It's October.
Like
the birds
just
are out.
dragging shattered glass.
I think
over my
I saw a
life.
Tippi Hedren running by out there.
Oh, sweet. Looking good, Tippi.
Yeah. I don't. It depends on the superheroes, but you saw the Watchmen are perfect for that idea, and that movie was a debacle. I think generally speaking, this isn't always true because, like I said, it works really well for Logan. People want to see superheroes be heroes. They want to see them be Boy Scouts generally. And that's why a movie like Superman doesn't work. And Batman can be dark and moody and stuff, but
I don't know.
Well, you're saying a movie like Man of Steel doesn't work.
Man of Steel doesn't work.
I just don't like
Superman. Batman doesn't work. The Batman in that, the way they did that is so aggressive and kind of inappropriate. And I mean, I've just never seen Batman just have such a disdain for life.
He's relying on guns.
I
and
just
murder
like that
more.
emotionally with Logan. I feel like, this character has depth, and there's so many superhero movies that we're gonna fly in, save the day, and we're out, and it's like, that was fun. I had a fun ride. But with Logan, I'm like, I leave, and I still have like things stick
Thoughts,
with you.
yeah.
You still have a thought and a process, and like, I went deeper than like 3% into my brain.
Sure. No, I it's nice to see a thoughtful superhero movie made.
Yeah. But then I love like the old Batman. So.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I want Avengers to have like heart, and I want it to have that's the biggest problem is that a lot of these movies don't have consequences, or the consequences for their actions don't mean anything.
I think that's great. That's a great point.
I
love Avengers though.
Well, that's why I really love the new Spider-Man movie, which is like not a moody, angsty film. It's like very like fun and stuff. It's very like, I guess it's like the Breakfast Club of superhero movies, or they say it's the John Hughes of superhero movies. But they didn't just like, spoiler alert, everyone, if you haven't seen Spider-Man Homecoming, stop.
If you haven't seen Spider-Man Homecoming,
they don't.
You probably don't know how to.
They don't feel compelled to kill people in the movie and be like, okay, we're done with that character. Let's move on to the next thing now. And I think that's like a flaw in a lot of these movies is that like there's no consequence. They just like, this thing happens. We took care of it. That person's dead. We're never going to see them ever again. And it means there's no weight to any of it. It's just a one-off, like forget about, one and done. Although I'm hoping, get my fingers crossed.
Cross them.
That they're going to undo some of that stuff with the new Avengers movie. We'll see.
All right, Avengers 3.
Avengers 3.
Revenge of Midnight
No.
Sun.
Always with the Midnight Sun.
I wish we would do another Ant-Man.
I'd love an Ant-Man
It's called
too.
Ant-Man and Wasp.
Oh, okay.
They should call it Ant-Man's 12.
I really liked Ant-Man.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's supposed to be part of that. So I guess like
I loved it.
I guess there's like the new phase of Marvel movies is the beginning of that is Spider-Man 2. Whatever they're calling it.
Okay.
That's the beginning of the next phase. And I think I'm not 100% sure, but I kind of think Ant-Man and the Wasp is part of that phase.
Cool.
Nice. Yeah, they released that schedule of like movies. I think that Disney's doing, and then the Marvel, and
I think it's gonna get fun again.
Yeah.
Because
God,
Captain Marvel is going to come out.
You know what got fun?
Remember
A
how
completely
fun?
different route. But I love the new Pirates. I thought that was really fun. It got horrible reviews, I think, but
This
I
is
really
the only
enjoyed
Pirates I still haven't seen.
I didn't like it, the new one.
I thought it was really fun.
Do we talk Transformers 5 yet? Because
I
that
haven't
was
seen
Pirates
it.
5,
Okay,
right? I saw
stopped.
Transformers
I can't watch
5.
those.
Oh yeah. I didn't like Pirates 5.
That's
You like
the
Pirates 5?
most I'm going to say.
Yeah, the new Pirates, I really enjoyed it.
I thought it was like 3 different movies. I didn't know what it was. But we'll talk about that. You and I can talk about that some other time.
I enjoyed it.
We should get back onto the spooky track.
Yes, because we are approaching Halloween.
You know what? But there's not enough horror movies out. I like religiously try and watch every single one, especially around Halloween.
Single
You don't think there's
horror movie?
You don't think there's enough horror movies out?
No, this month, what can I watch? I can watch...
It is still in theaters?
Yeah.
I saw that a second time.
I wouldn't consider that a horror film, though.
Really?
Well, I was very entertained,
I do.
But I was not scared.
Okay, so let's talk about horror
But I
movies.
loved it. I will watch that again and again.
We've alluded
Totally
to this.
a horror movie.
We've alluded to this
I mean,
a couple of
it's a horror
times.
movie, yes, but...
There's people that like, if it's not like bloody, gory, or like a bunch of jump scares or whatever. I'm not saying that this is you, but there are people out there that are like, well, that's not a horror movie. Like, suspense can be horror movie. Suspense is horror movie.
No, I guess I take that. It is a horror movie. I meant I want a horror movie that scares me.
What is that noise now?
Okay.
With
That's
that-
the dog's getting fed. It's our
Oh
automatic
my
dog feeder.
God.
Calm
With
down.
that said,
Calm
it
down,
is
This
Steve.
is
the,
freaking me out, bro.
Dude.
it is the only horror movie that I've seen probably ever that I was like ready to go back and watch again immediately
Yeah,
because
it's such a blast.
it's so good. It's fun. I laughed.
There's been a lot of horror movies this year. I'm looking at
I
the list
loved
right
it.
now.
Well, I mean, like the month of October.
What about The Snowman? Doesn't that come out in October?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
Snowman's coming out too?
I'm so hit or miss because it seems like I'll watch it and it just seems it's so hard for me to go, ooh, the snowman, really terrifying because it's
I think it's a
not.
suspense thriller. I think it's like see, I hear
I
people
saw
say
a new trailer that looks suspenseful.
we have a
but-
mutual friend who likes horror movies. That's like that's
Rick
not a
Schroeder.
horror movie. I'm not going to say who they are, but they're like like the witch, the witch. That's not a horror movie or whatever because it's slow paced and stuff. But it's like, well, would you say that about Rosemary's Baby?
The others,
Jesus.
the others was slow paced, but I thought that was pretty.
Yeah.
Well, that was probably more.
I still haven't
suspense.
watched
No, it's a horror
Witch.
movie. Absolutely a horror
You
movie.
know what? There's a movie that's out. It was literally 2 days, and I missed it. But it was a Christmas movie, and it was. Oh, I wish I knew
Christmas
the name.
horror movie?
A Christmas horror movie, and my
Red
friend
Christmas?
saw it and said it was really good. No, it just came out.
Red Christmas?
No, not Red Christmas.
Oh,
it's like when they come, or I think it's when they.
It comes at night.
No, it's the title is like a lyric. Yeah, Zach Kahn has something to do with it.
And it's like 2 kids are in their house, and
Yeah, Better Not Shout or something like
I
that.
think it's something
Better
like
Watch
that.
Out.
Yeah, I heard it was pretty good.
I don't know.
Yeah, Better Watch Out. That's what it's called.
Yeah, it's probably on like VOD or something.
Yeah, unfortunately, it just screened at the Egyptian a couple weeks ago, and I could not get to it that day.
It was-
and I was very sad.
They had it in Burbank, but it was there for 2 days, and I was gonna go one of the
I
days.
mean, it's
and-
tough when you're one of those little movies.
Oh, starring Ed Oxenbould from The Visit. M. Night Shyamalan's The Visit.
I really like The Visit.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I mean, I'm burned out a little bit on the found footage thing, but yeah.
Yeah. Oh wait, I was thinking The Village, not The Visit.
Oh, I like The Village too.
love
The
The
Village
Village.
is like people hate that movie, but
I
I actually
loved
I
it.
kind of like it too.
I loved it.
I'll admit that like the M Night Shyamalan's part, his acting part in that, is not my favorite part of the movie, but
I don't even remember his.
I really liked it. Yeah, I won't go. We don't have to get all spoilery, but there's been a lot of horror movies this year.
Yeah, but I mean, like, where's my October horror movies? What are horror movies that are in theaters October?
Did you see Mother? I haven't seen that.
I still have not seen
Yes.
Mother.
Did you like it? Or were you like, nah? Aronofsky's so polarizing, right?
It's just, you know what makes
That was
me
Aronofsky,
mad
right?
is that
Yeah.
well, I was told this, so maybe he didn't do this, but he said there's no metaphors in the movie.
Did bull.
And then in another interview, he goes, it's about Mother Nature. And then Jennifer Lawrence speaks about how like she thinks you need to know the metaphors going in. And
That's people that want you to be confused going
Yeah.
in. That's a calculated plan right there.
and then when I watched the film, here's my one sentence opinion.
Now, I
of
haven't
Mother.
seen it, so don't spoil it for me.
So my one sentence opinion of Mother would be, oh, it was a great location for a good horror film. Mm-hmm. That's really my only opinion. I wish they had made another movie that was a horror film at that location.
Okay, all right. Fair enough.
Location, you said.
It's interesting because like his stuff is so like kind of polarizing, and like it really does tend to be either you just don't dig the movie
Well, once
or
I knew
you
what
love
the
it.
metaphors were, I just kind of.
You were like, nah.
I mean, I don't want to spoil anything, but I think my Yeah, I don't want to spoil anything, so I can't really go into it, but watch the movie and then we can talk.
Okay.
Mother!
It's not high on my list because like it was same with like Black Swan. Like Black Swan's so good, but it just was not high on my list. It's just it's for me, his movies are a little, as great as they are, I acknowledge that they're great films. They're a chore for me to get through.
I thought the acting was great. I was really dived in, and I was following it. I was intrigued, and I let go of it being a horror movie pretty early on, even though they want to say that it's horrific. But then as it went, there's a part in the movie where we just completely jump in the car and we drive to another continent, and it's just two different movies.
Not literally, just like
it just there's. Did you see it?
No.
And I just feel
I'm
like
afraid to.
I get where they were going, but they just went so quick, and it was just.
Yeah. And you're an aficionado. You're a horror aficionado.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call that a horror film, and I know people that would probably watch it would go, "Really? That you don't call that a horror film?" I think.
Do you not feel like the character was going through something horrific in the film?
Yeah.
I mean that's the definition, right?
I mean,
like,
I guess it's a horror film. It's not a horror film for me.
Okay.
It's not what I would like. For me, The Strangers is a horror film, and I feel unsettled, and I feel.
But there's the problem is horror again, and we've kind of touched on this a little bit on the podcast, but now we haven't gone into great detail. There's a lot of.
This is our third Halloween. I bet we have.
Well, there's a lot of subgenre. So like horror, comedy, drama.
Horror.
Yeah.
Those are not genres.
I guess I don't want to say what is and what
They're
isn't
too broad
horror because
there's slasher is its own
Yeah.
thing.
And
Monster
things
movies
that-
are its own thing.
Yeah.
and things that don't scare me might be terrifying for other people.
Torture porn.
Demon movies, ghost films.
Supernatural.
Ghost films are different than Supernatural.
Scary
Supernatural is
aliens.
almost too broad. Like a ghost film is very different from a poltergeist film. You know what I mean? So like there. I feel like horror is like, and because I haven't seen Mother, I can't really like say this is the kind of horror I think this is.
It's
I have a question for Devin. Well, we have him here. We have him on mic.
Yeah.
What's like your absolute favorite go-to horror movie that when you're like, I want to watch something scary that I know I'm going to like, what do you go with?
So I really don't rewatch horror films. Because if I know what's happening and it doesn't really have the same thing, I like in the moment I can be horrified. But I would say what's really unsettling, and the most unsettling film I've ever seen was The Strangers.
Wow,
so
yeah.
that's probably like if someone hasn't seen
interesting.
it, I'm like, let's put it on. But it doesn't.
I don't really dig it.
They never have the same appeal the second time because I've already went through it and the emotion isn't like fresh and new in the first time.
Yeah.
But for The Strangers, I remember watching that and my heart was beating so much that I felt it in my head and I started getting a headache in the film, and I've never had that.
Wow.
But I think,
Interesting.
and I used to live in Alabama, and because houses are really cheap there, we had this just fortress of a home.
Yeah.
And I remember when I first moved in, I would get lost sometimes in it, like the first few days,
Sure.
just trying to find things. After like a week, you know where things are in
Yeah.
your home. But because there was a great deal of space and it was huge, and I'd be upstairs in my room, and which you'd have to go down and down the stairs and through 2 living rooms, and it was just a very big home.
Mm-hmm.
And being alone sometimes, my family would go out. It was horrifying to me. And then we lived in Washington State. And we had a home not as big, but that was when I was younger, I think when I was like 12 or 13. So it was this empty home. So I had these places where I could go in my head to being there, and especially in Alabama where you can be miles between homes. Yeah. And the fact of someone coming in and doing exactly what they did in The Strangers could have happened in 2 seconds.
Wow.
And the final thing, also in Alabama when we lived there, I lived on the street that Ted Bundy apparently murdered people on.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
I thought he was all Florida. I guess
Well, it
Florida
was
and
Graceville,
Alabama are right next.
Florida, but it was like a mile from Alabama, and I went
my
to school
God.
in Alabama. So that I moved around a lot. But so right across was a forest, and I guess they had like cult practices in there.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was true or not. I was young, and I'm sure kids were rumoring. But the police did at one point ask us to, when we first moved in, and my dad was friends with one of the cops. He said, make sure you don't go in the woods. There's people that just, who knows what's going on in there.
Sure.
So, long story short, I think just having those experiences as a child, watching the movie, I was like, this could have happened to me.
Oh, that's
Oh my
interesting.
gosh.
I could be killed so easily.
And I don't really dig that movie that much, but I do recognize that like something they do really, really well is create that sense of isolation.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that's kind of what you're talking
That's
about.
my number. And Jeepers Creepers, I feel like did it really
Oh, I
good
love
too.
Jeepers Creepers.
But forget
I
that
wish
guy.
I didn't.
I
F that
know,
guy.
I know. It's
Trailer for Jeepers Creepers 3 is available, and that's exciting.
I know, but then
Except
in, like,
that
the
the guy's an
same-
a-hole.
Yeah,
The creeper or the director?
The director.
Yeah, the director. But did he have any? I don't think he has any part in 2 or 3.
Yeah, absolutely he
No,
does.
Oh,
he's-
gross.
He put this whole thing in there about like justifying why it's okay to be a
Oh, I read
pedophile.
about that. I'm like, I was so excited to watch 3, and then I read the article where he's trying to like.
Yeah,
It's
he's-
ridiculous.
And he
but-
put it in the movie, but he put a thing in there where he's trying to justify like
Oh,
why it's
yeah.
okay to prey on children.
How is he
In which
even?
movie?
How
3.
is he still
In
out,
part of
though?
3?
How is
Gross.
he not in jail or something?
He was in jail. He wrote the movie while he was in jail.
Okay, I don't.
Oh man, then we need to go ahead and boycott. I didn't know he was still involved
Okay.
at all.
Well, even with that said, I will say Jeepers Creepers gave me that same feeling because, or let's talk about The Strangers. The Strangers.
Sure.
To not give more, whatever to that.
Well, no, I mean, I agree, but I think the problem for me is that it's touched on to like I think it's an interesting idea, but like between that and funny games and The Purge, it just all feels like a little like.
But I feel like The Purge is so different from The Strangers because The Strangers and the way they do it, it's great acting.
Well,
too,
The
I
Purge is
feel.
like what if we took The Strangers? That's what I feel like.
The Purge is terrifying, but I think that terrifies me for like political reasons. But
Sure.
But with I think the thing I liked about The Strangers too is his musical elements used.
Oh,
Someone
okay.
would walk into a room and you have to see them, and you're not alerted that they're there. So you find them or you don't, or eventually they come in the screen where you see them more. But
Yeah.
my heart jumps because I notice someone's in the room.
We should watch it. We should watch it together.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm not going to have the same effect because I know. I know it's coming in a way, but I also have no memories.
I mean, I feel like maybe like hearing you talk about it, maybe I should like give it another shot.
Oh, I'm in this room actually that you have. Wes, I don't know if he's told you guys about his theater room, but it's. I think that would
Haunted.
give me a heart attack. I would love to watch a horror movie I've never seen in there.
I forced Steve and Desi to watch Sinister.
Oh, I
Up in
can't.
that room.
That's unsettling because
Yeah.
that's just so dark, and there's no
So
like,
dark.
there's
They never
no
turn a light
escape.
on in that movie.
Yeah, there's.
Ethan Hawke, turn your lights on, buddy.
Well, yeah.
That's dark. You know what else is
We had
dark?
a good conversation about like why that movie's so dark because Steve didn't like it. It like actually I feel like it took you out of the movie, right?
Yeah.
But I like
It was just unreasonably dark.
I like that he never turned the light on in the film.
Yeah, and it also to me was just dark in terms of content. Like there was no relief
yeah.
in terms of like I don't feel any like. And I guess Strangers you don't feel lighter, but like maybe I'm referencing that a lot since it's my favorite. But there's moments that you breathe, and in Sinister there really didn't feel like anywhere for you to come up. I just felt like this dark haze. The other movie.
Well, can you just real quick address that? Like, I think I love that because it's the same feeling I get when I watch true crime like documentaries. Like when I watch like when I watched The Jinx, or when I watch I'm watching The Keepers right now on Netflix. I don't want to get too into it, but it's like about the abuse of young women in the 60s in a Catholic high school, but also the murder that's connected to that of a nun and possibly another. I haven't gotten all the way through another young woman, and
That's the stuff that freaks me out. The truth, like ghosts and all that, because I have no experience. Don't really. I'm not to say if it is or it isn't, but I have no experience, so I can't like. My fear of it is non-existent. But like murders and serial killers, not that I don't have it, but I know that that's something real and I see on TV. So that I'm like could happen to me any day. Also, Annabelle has a very unsettling. The new one. No, the new one.
I've heard the new one's very
not
good.
the old one. Not the old
It might be very good.
I've also heard
stand that doll.
I've also heard the Ouija prequel, which I haven't seen.
I
was very
really
good.
liked it, but the Annabelle, the new movie, I was like, I
Creation.
guess I'll see this because it looks pretty good. But the first one I was not a fan. But this one is so unsettling, and just so like.
I mean, that doll is a nightmare itself, man.
Yeah.
Just the use of that thing in The Conjuring Part 1, I was like, I don't need to see anything else with this doll ever again.
Good. It is unsettling.
No thank you.
The problem, the only problem I have with the Annabelle movies is that the real Annabelle doesn't look anything like that.
Yeah, the real Annabelle.
Have you seen the real Annabelle?
Ann.
It's a Raggedy Ann doll.
It's a big Raggedy Ann.
I've forgotten it because my memory doesn't work. But
yeah, Raggedy Ann.
Another movie. Would you? Have you?
I think the movies would have been better if they had stuck with that. Because this doll is just too much of a nightmare. It just looks like a hunk of shit demon. And it's like, who would keep a doll like that?
The movie it's good. To tie back into if it's a horror film.
Yes.
Have you guys seen 8mm?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So that, I don't think is classified, that's probably like an action, not action.
I would put that in horror. I mean,
I would.
It's about snuff
certainly
films.
Suspense.
It's about snuff films. I mean...
Yeah. Well, I think it was more like...
I don't know if you get more horrific than...
drama? I don't know, not drama, but when I watched it with my brother. I think it was like 16, he was like 14. Probably should have never done that, but
it is a cop movie too. So
and that's another dark haze. Like I just felt gross watching that.
Speaking of gross,
which great that they could do that.
So yeah, we should tackle these two movies real quick.
I got to bring something up real fast.
Yeah.
Because this also happened in Friday the 13th, Part 1. Mm-hmm. They kill a live snake on film. And in this Return to Sleepaway Camp, they definitely killed some living frogs. And they even had a skinned living frog in that one shot.
They may have moved that frog. I
don't know, man. That thing looks very real and alive and skinned. And it's deeply upsetting.
I don't know if it was alive. I don't even know if it was real. But it looked real.
It had to be real.
There are definitely, you go to Louisiana, you can go pull over on the side of the road and buy frogs.
Sure.
But
that's not an excuse to skin a living one. I
don't think it was alive.
It looked very alive.
I'm suspect.
I saw its leg move, and I'm pretty sure I saw it blink.
I don't think so.
And that's deeply disturbing.
See, I was just like, they would never really do this. And
look, as long as they then took it and cooked it and ate it, I'm okay with it. But it really looked like they skinned a living frog for that scene, and that was upsetting.
You meaning the eye moved because he was skinned alive and still alive? I'm
pretty sure I saw him blink, and you definitely see his back leg extend.
All right, well, now I'm boycotting.
And I don't think that movie had the effects budget to edit out a fishing string pulling its leg to make it extend.
What do you think their budget was?
If it was more than $10, I'd be amazed.
It was probably real low. I bet it was probably... it probably was around or just under 100,000 as my guess.
Yeah.
I'm going to think like 50. Because 50,000 then is going to be probably like... I'm not going to...
you got to pay Vincent Pastore.
You got to pay Pastore. Yeah. You got to pay the guy who played Mickey. Hopefully everybody got paid.
Isaac Hayes probably
sure
was 20K.
Yeah.
I don't know. He wasn't in it that long. That was probably a one-day shoot for him.
Probably.
You think 20K for that?
Well, I can tell you that
they could have done scale on everybody.
A lot of guest stars on TV get 25K.
Yeah, but you don't think they would have done scale for the film?
No, but if he's Isaac Hayes,
yeah,
he's not going to say yes to this really bad horror movie after as successful as he's already been without a really good paycheck.
Yeah.
The guy wrote the theme from Shaft. He had all those years on South Park. He's probably not hurting for money in 2008.
Yeah.
My dad went on live.
Should we dive into Sleepaway Camp Part 1?
Yeah, let's do that.
The sleepiest of camps?
Yeah. Can you take the run here? I'm feeling a little woozy right now.
That's okay. I want you to relax, and I'm going to take the run at this. First and foremost, we should point out there is a legendary episode of How Did This Get Made where they completely dissect Sleepaway Camp Part 1. They still get the backstory wrong, but we won't go into that. If you've heard that episode, you've enjoyed it. If you haven't, I would say listen to it because they go over every second of that movie.
I've got an estimate from IMDb, by the way, on Return to Sleepaway Camp. It cannot be right.
What's it say?
$4 million.
$4 million? Maybe. Oh, that can't be right.
If you think
That's
location,
insane.
Lighting, equipment, editing, color,
there was not a lot of equipment and lighting in that movie.
Yeah, ain't that the truth? And also, they probably got that location.
The location had.
Just after the summer ended and all that sort of thing.
All right, here you take away for a second.
Debunked.
All right. we're going into Sleepaway Camp Part 1. Are you ready for this, Devin?
I'm ready.
So the movie opens with shots of the summer camp in the fall, am I right? And then there's a sign that says Camp Arawak for sale. But then dissolve to what is clearly a summertime shop of the camp, and every good summer camp has a lake, and it's a beautiful summer day. A dad and his 2 kids are out on a little sailboat. There are some skiers on a boat going around. I'm not going to get into the confusingness of that because it's legendary. And if you've seen Sleepaway Camp, you already know the scene. The ski boat hits the sailboat. The dad gets killed. One of the kids gets killed. It's terrible. 8 years later is on the screen, and we see a mom sending her 2 kids, Angela and Ricky, off to camp for the summer.
A mom with a personality disorder, possibly.
I would
like a
say
split personality.
I would say, based on the later revelations in the movie, you are 100% correct. She's sending the kids off to camp. She's in a great mood. She knows the kids are going to have a good summer. Cousin Ricky is a foul-mouthed, New Yorker spitfire of a young man. And Angela, his lovely cousin, is completely quiet and just likes to stare at people when they talk to her. As the movie unfolds, she opens up a little bit and starts talking a little bit to a few people. But boy, oh boy, things start going wrong, and things start going wrong quick, because is it the 3rd day of camp? The camp cook tries to molest poor Angela.
I want to address day one of camp when they pull up and the cook is like, a lot of fresh. What does he say? Fresh chicken.
He just went into this.
He does. He
speech
says
that
fresh
made me-
chicken.
And then he goes, "We used to call them baldies."
Blah.
And then it seemed like the other counselors were all laughing, and I literally thought, "Oh, this is just a camp of molesters." And
Well, it was all the
seek
cooks
revenge.
and kitchen people.
Yeah, but then they kind of like that. I guess that storyline died.
Well, I mean, the
guy-
chef got a pot of boiling water poured
Yeah.
on him.
After he tries to accost poor Angela in the
Yeah.
walk-in.
Well,
So he got what he deserved.
yeah,
They don't exactly show if he dies or not. They just cart him away screaming and boiling.
yeah. I kind of wanted a death.
I kind of want him to suffer for a few days.
We'll suffer and then die.
Yeah. All right. People keep getting murdered. I think maybe the canoe murder is probably
Yeah, let's
my
talk
favorite.
about the murders. Let's focus on the murders.
There's so many of them.
Well, there's the chef. Who was next?
The
I think
canoe,
next
right?
was the canoe one.
Oh,
yeah.
the canoe. Yeah, the canoe. The chef.
But I love the idea
Hey,
that
Barbarino.
I love the idea that idiot kid tips the canoe. The girl gets mad at him and she swims away. He watches her swim away, and then he goes under the canoe and starts calling.
Well, she's still in the water, and the idea I think is like, I'm being spooky because the voice is coming from nowhere because
maybe.
you can't see
That's
anyone
what
in the
I
water.
thought for a second, but
I don't think she'd be able to hear him from her swimming vantage
Yeah.
point.
that's
but
being
it's funny as hell.
really, really polite.
Yeah. What else? You got Ricky and his foul mouth. The kid was a genius with the swears. There's literally one point where he says, "I'm gonna freaking kill you, you fucks." And it's like, why'd he bother to say freaking? He'd already said the F word 100 times.
Right.
And then he switches it up this one time and then brings it right back to fucks. And that cracked me up.
This is the point if I wondered if he improv'd it.
I don't know. I think if I were
Because it was so rapid fire, too.
he was an artist, you know. He was like the dad in A Christmas Story, as Ralphie says. The old man. Some artists work in clays and oils, and my old man worked in profanity. The canoe murder.
Yeah.
Then you were about to say something.
I was just going to talk about some of the campers, but
Let's hear it.
well, do you know who was originally cast to play Judy, our favorite camper?
No. Renee Zellweger.
Jane Krakowski
Jane Krakowski.
was originally cast as Judy.
Now, my guess is she probably booked a National Lampoon's Vacation instead.
I just want to know
She
what
was in that.
I want to know what the director told Judy. Like, here's your backstory of why you just hate this girl. What was her reasoning?
I don't know if there was a lot of reasoning for a lot of stuff in that movie. And yet there's very clearly, well, not quite clearly, but certainly very well thought out reasoning for the murders. And then the ultimate reason behind it all is still a little bit muddy for some, but I think we cracked the code. If you're listening, you should have watched Sleepaway Camp. If you have questions, please tweet at VTRT Movies, and we'll try to re-answer them for you since, we can't read your minds from this recording session right here. So much disturbing stuff in that movie. What's the next murder after the canoe? Is it the bees?
No. There's one before the bees.
There's 12 dead bodies.
12?
Well, they count the chef, I think, as well.
What about the 3 sleeping bags? Do they count in the 12?
That's way later, though.
Oh, that's so messed up.
Who's the next murder?
The chef? The canoe?
Oh, well, I guess there's two people killed at the very beginning of the movie.
That's very true.
The father and the child.
Yeah.
Wait, the chef, the canoe.
Yeah, it's hard to remember.
It's hard to keep them all straight. I think it's the bees.
It may be the bees.
Because I remember when the bees happened, I was like, damn, now this guy has to try to explain 2 camper deaths, not just,
was
the
it
cook, but...
Meg?
No, she's a little later, too. She's that last night.
Later, yeah, because she's getting ready for her
Was there another one
date.
where they were thought they could cover it up, I feel like?
Yeah, I feel like there was one more before the bees. But there must not have been if none of us can remember it.
It's that memorable. All right, so let's go with the bees.
I think it was the bees.
It's tough because I keep thinking about the Return to Sleepaway Camp.
Yeah, I'm getting them all
I'm
mixed
sorry.
in.
That movie. Oh, boy.
All right, so the bees.
Okay.
The bees, not the bees.
Not the bees.
So one of the
the
a-hole.
Yeah,
campers.
Billy, I think.
I
think it was Billy.
It was, I think he was a blonde kid.
Yeah, he was among the water balloon kids who were having a water balloon fight on a roof.
And he was I think he was one of the softball guy.
He was the pitcher for the opposite team in the softball game. So he goes and throws a water balloon right at Angela as she's walking by innocently. And then sure enough, later that day, he's taking a dump and somebody cuts open the screen window behind him, sticks a whole beehive into the window and shakes it, and he gets stung to death. Mm-hmm. Horrifically stung to death by a hive full of bees. And
that was pretty grotesque.
It was really gross. Like, there were literally, when it was panning across, his dead body, there was literally a shot of a bee, crawling out of a sting hole in his arm.
Yeah.
It was so gross. Oh, it was sick.
My favorite line, I think, in the movie might have been when, I guess, the old camp counselor tells Angela that she's got to go change because she could get pneumonia because she's been hit with one balloon.
She got hit with
and
one water balloon.
They're all on the roof. The kids are playing with water balloons on the roof, first of all, which they could easily slide off and die. But they throw one at Angela. She gets hit, and it's like she's been shot with a gun.
Yeah.
Everybody runs out. It's this huge dramatic scene, and then she could, get pneumonia. So she's just...
At summer camp.
She's like Bubble Girl.
Yeah, pneumonia in the middle of the day at summer camp. Oh, God.
So the bees
funny.
was next.
That was? Okay,
It was.
sweet.
Okay.
And then next was Meg.
Meg.
Okay.
Now, Meg
I knew
was
that was close.
the jerk counselor who has the hots for the old 70-something-year-old
Yeah, she was.
Mel,
camp
the
owner.
the
Mel.
camp owner and director.
I'm
And
still not sure he didn't write the film.
if he did, I wouldn't be surprised. Well, no, I think if he had written it, I think he and Meg probably would have had a really gross scene together rather than her just being like, aren't you going to take me to that dinner you promised me? And him being like, oh, good idea.
Maybe he wouldn't want to have it on film. He'd want to, say behind the scenes, don't you want to come over and practice these scenes that we got to work on? Okay, I don't know. That's
You could be right. Meg, played by the gorgeous Catherine Cammy, who's still working today.
So she's in the shower, and a knife comes through as she's leaning up against the wall.
And not through the shower curtain,
No.
but through the actual wall.
The wall of the shower.
The strength of the killer is just crazy.
Almost like a bathroom stall door. Almost.
Yeah.
And
It's disturbing.
no way a knife would go through that, but it did.
I mean, although thinking about those super cheap old camp showers.
But even then, if it hits
They're
you,
plastic.
you could pull away.
Wait
There's
a
no
minute,
way
guys.
the knife is not going to come out and go back in.
Sure.
There was also a sleepaway camp for
Yeah.
the survivor In 2012?
It's an unofficial one, I think.
Oh.
I think it's because...
It's got Felissa in it.
They released...
and Meg.
They released...
Meg?
And Ricky.
Yeah, see, they released a box set with a survival kit.
Yeah.
And it had, like, unofficial stuff in it, and they ended up having to have them pulled.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Wow.
Yeah, there were unofficial sequels.
As much as I hated Return to Sleepaway Camp, it was still fun, and I now want to watch Sleepaway Camp 4, The Survivor.
All right, so that's Meg. Then are the kids, I believe, out in the woods. The little kids.
Okay.
So there are 4 that are murdered.
Which I'm like, I don't even remember them being in the movie. Like
They showed one little kid once in a scene, like running out. I was like, look at that little tiny kid.
Yeah, and now we've got like a whole group, but
yeah, there were six small children. 2 asked to go back to the car. So 4 are murdered with an axe.
I thought it was 3.
Gross.
It was 4.
It's hard to tell. I think it's just like a jumble of, but it's 6 went out there.
Okay.
And only 2 go back to the car.
That was like the non-grotesque because it just looked like someone ripped apart a bed. I didn't see like
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
you
it's like
pretty
some
much
fake
just see
blood.
blood and cotton.
Feathers, yeah.
Yeah.
And shredded up sleeping bags.
Who killed the chicken out here? And then we have Judy.
Judy.
Judy was great.
With the curling iron
Oh,
up the hoo-ha.
no. No, dude.
I meant Judy, not her death was great. I mean, it was great,
The actress.
but I mean just Judy. in
She's
general.
so
Good job.
very, there's something very New
looks.
Jersey about her.
The whole movie. I mean,
Oh yeah,
everybody in
yeah.
this
But she is
film.
especially like,
very New
like
Jersey
I'm
movie.
like, I when watching the movie, I can't help but think of like, did this girl grow up and star in Clerks? like, does she know Kevin Smith?
Yeah.
Because it feels like she's Veronica or something in Clerks.
And just mad for no reason. Just mad at everybody.
Mad at the world.
Well, you know, she's a queen bee, you know. The movie starts with Ricky's buddy being like, "You should see Judy this year, man." And it's like, okay, so clearly Judy is like, you know, the hottest girl at camp, you could assume.
There's a lot of thoughts now that I think, okay, so they've talked about like this. I mean, I guess it's normal for these kind of movies, but I'm like, okay, so you talked about Judy's boobs, and then you made the chef a molester, and then like, there's like some questionable content in this script.
Sure.
Like,
Well, and it's all about it's. I mean, it's not all about this, but I mean, there's a lot of stuff about sort of like adolescence and like going through puberty and sort of like the change between being a child and being an adult, and I actually think this movie's ahead of its time. I think had this movie been made, 20 years later, I think one would have been made better, and I think it would be a little bit more relevant.
I would watch.
What's that?
I was going to say I would watch the Universal 2019-18 remake.
Yeah.
Sleepaway Camp.
The fact that it's 2 dads, and obviously there's somebody like confused with their gender identity, and this sort of like this view when you see the kids from the kids' perspective, it's very much them trying to be adults, them trying to like find the girlfriend and try to kiss and try to skinny dip, and it's them all just trying to grow up. But when you see it from the adults' perspective, it's creepy because they see it. It's almost like they live with the kids, so they have the same mentality.
Yeah.
Not that it justifies it. It's still freaking gross. But I don't know. It's kind of an interesting thing that they maybe unintentionally explored. I don't know.
Yeah.
It almost makes me think if John Waters was in college and made a horror film.
Interesting.
I think it would have been more fun.
Yeah, but I mean, if he was trying to really go for a horror film,
Yeah, I like John Waters a lot.
I would love to see John Waters remake this film now.
Yeah.
Wow. John Waters.
That would be great.
But see now, like, and we'll get to the ending here in a minute. But I think now the ending, I don't think that's an appropriate ending now. I think for the time period, and
It's crazy how it was okay then, and now it would be. You would think now it would be more appropriate, but
I think it would be insensitive now.
Absolutely.
yeah, 100%.
And I'm not sure if the timing is really the reason. Well, okay. Here's how you could make it now: is it would still have to be a period thing. It would still have to take place in the 80s or prior to that.
Yeah.
It couldn't take place in modern day. It could be made in modern day.
Yeah.
But it couldn't take place in modern day because then it would be insensitive.
Yeah.
Well, it's also if you remake it and you give it a more realistic take, like that, there's no way there's nothing realistic about that film.
Yeah. I mean, I would worry that well, let's get to the end and we'll talk. So after Judy, what happens after Judy?
Isn't that when basically everybody's like, okay, like, there's definitely a killer here. Mel found Meg's dead body, and he's convinced that Ricky killed her.
Oh, so he beats up Ricky.
And then he beats
the
up Ricky.
hell out of Ricky.
Yeah.
And frankly, Ricky, you're a spry New Jersey kid. You should have been able to get away from Mel. He's an old, gross man.
And after Mel
But I
did his
get it.
monologue, which was another reason I was like, I know Mel wrote this script. I know he did because he gave himself a little monologue.
Yeah.
Very, very poorly acted monologue.
Not you, Meg.
Not Meg.
And then do they find...
They kill Mel.
And then do they get to the beach? Oh, yeah, that's right. Mel gets it on the old archery range.
I'm pulling up the...
Oh, that's right.
Every good camp scene needs a good archery range murder.
He was very shocked. Not you. Not you. Not...
Oh.
I thought the jump cut was really good. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I didn't even see it going.
Yeah, it was seamless. I mean, I need glasses, but it was seamless.
So Mel didn't write it.
Okay.
Nor direct it. But Mel secretly, notice he has a cigar throughout the whole
Yeah.
film. He was...
Which is great.
he was dying. He was dying from lung cancer.
Oh,
and he
man.
kept it a secret from the cast
Oh,
during the
wow.
filming.
Okay, well, now
Sad.
I feel bad about
Don't you
saying
feel like a
great.
jerk?
No, because
It's
so
then-
Phil Mel really wrote it, though. He's just lying about it.
Sure.
When he runs up in the beginning scene with that cigar in his mouth, I'm just dying.
There's so much to love about the
Yeah.
movie.
There's so
we haven't
many
even
little
talked
quirky
about
things.
Ronnie yet.
Ronnie
and
is
his guns.
Ronnie is amazing. See, it's funny because I've never watched it this close to as large a screen as we've
Oh,
watched
yeah?
it on today, and I've never seen it in the theater or anything. So there were definitely things that I noticed that I wouldn't have noticed otherwise, or I've never noticed before, like the really small child running out with all the other people who are much bigger than them. There's like a little girl out running during one of the scenes.
Oh, no.
I think it might be in the Color Wars scene when they're
Okay.
playing Capture the Flag. There is so everybody's 13, 14.
Yeah.
And then there's a 7-year-old out there.
What the
It
heck?
was really weird in overalls. I was like,
That's
okay.
funny.
And then you pointed out when Mel is sort of interrogating Ricky at the waterfront, and in the background at the water, they're about to throw Angela in the water.
Right.
But in the background of the field,
Yeah.
what did you see?
Ronnie is just standing out there, away from everything, but he's got 2 big dumbbells in his hands, and he's just working out with these 2 dumbbells out in the middle of a big field.
Yeah.
I guess he's kind of near the handball wall,
There's some...
but it's not like there's no reason to be working out that far away from everything.
we're
Whoa.
gonna do a little snack here. We don't normally eat while on mic, but I'm feeling woozy, so I just need a little.
Should I take us to the beach?
Take us to the beach, sir.
All right, so what's the guy's name? Chris, the guy that Angela is pretty much the only person
Yeah.
Angela talks to.
Chris, I think.
So he catches Angela coming out of the fun room at night, and he's like, "Hey, Angela, I'd really like to blah, blah, blah." And she's like, "You know what? Yeah. Meet me on the beach at this time." And then a few other murders happen. That's when Meg happens. That's when Judy happens, this and that. And then
Paul. His name's Paul.
Paul. The actor's name is Chris, right?
I don't know.
Star of Prayer of the Roller Boys. So he goes to the beach, and I think this is the scene that gave us the moment in America's Wet Hot American Summer when David Hyde Pierce says, "Can you meet me on the picnic table in 10 seconds?" And then Janine Garofalo waits 10 seconds, and then it pans over to the picnic table, and all the kids are there with all the science stuff. Because this is Paul, and he paces to the left of the screen, and then he paces to the right.
It's actually a really great reveal, I think.
And then he paces to the left, and then he paces to the right,
Yeah, I mean it's overdone,
and
but
then the left again, and Angela's standing there waiting for him.
I mean that's not an unheard of
It's not unheard of
element
at
in a
all.
horror film.
But something about that
How many
moment
times?
there makes me think that that's where the
Oh,
Wet
maybe.
Hot American Summer moment came from.
Maybe. He does pace back and forth.
Yeah, and they're on the waterfront too, and there's probably a picnic. I don't know.
There's another scene where Paul comes up and scares Angela. She's out looking for him behind some building, and just watching it's a long time because it's like perv cam, like in the bushes.
Perv cam,
and it like
that's a great way to put it.
And then it like comes out, and then you see the hand reach out and grab her arm, and then she turns around all scared,
and
which is actually a really famous shot from the trailer. If anybody's watched the trailer, but she's that whole time is looking the opposite direction into the dark, and she's doing that classic like bad kid acting where it's like, you know, she might as well have her hand on top of her forehead, like shading her eyes so she can see. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, but you know, it's part of it. Well, there are a few other scenes in the movie where all we're seeing of the killer is their hands. Yes. And I have a feeling those hands were played by a few different people.
No. You know who played the hands? Well, let's get to the end of the movie.
They look like the brothers' hands.
It's the brothers' hands.
So it was Ricky's hands
the whole time?
I was like, I'm pretty sure that's Ricky's hands.
I thought they were slightly different each time.
Nope,
okay.
They're Ricky's hands.
They look like boys' hands.
Yeah.
Which I guess, works in the end. But
So Paul goes to meet her.
Then
we cut away. Eventually,
other
Ronnie
happen.
And Susie, I think.
Definitely Ronnie, probably Susie.
Meg's other counselor from her cabin, I believe.
Yeah, the nice one.
Yeah, they show up at the beach, and Angela's like sitting on the ground naked.
Well,
stroking
Paul's hair.
Yeah.
And humming a nice tune. Not as nice as Meg's
shower song.
Humming.
I want that as a ringtone. If somebody could make that as a ringtone for me,
I
will use that as a ringtone or a text tone.
That's got to exist, right?
I don't know.
That's legendary.
It's doable to find.
Yeah. It's got to be doable.
Or to create.
Dwayne, I'm looking at you.
Dwayne, go for it. So they see her and they're like, oh my God, is that Angela? What's happening? And then she stands up with this big sort of silent scream look on her face. And does she
make a noise? She does make a noise.
She is screaming?
She's like, ah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Does she have Paul's head in her hand when she stands up?
I believe so.
Does she have the axe in her other hand?
A knife, I believe.
A knife, even though she stole an axe earlier.
But
what else is there that's quite a surprise?
Dong, da dong, dong, dong.
Whoa.
I audibly gasped because that shocked the hell out of me.
I heard you. Yeah, I was so excited. I was like, Devin has no idea.
So what, the Crying Game?
Yeah, it's such a again, another movie that's like really, like it was really ahead of its time. No, nobody else was making movies like that, and people haven't really much since.
Yeah.
It's impressive. That's a man.
Right.
Surprise, surprise. They made a cast of her face, which is why she doesn't move. Why her face is just that one expression.
Oh, they put it on a male body.
They put it on a male body.
Okay, I kept wondering because I was like, this is going to be weird to make this girl wear like this prosthetic thing. And
yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Instead, they made a naked man wear the prosthetic thing.
Right. As
yeah,
it should be.
One of the most legendary reveals in horror history.
It's just a fake face, which is actually the most
weird,
realistic looking of the whole thing.
Right.
That's crazy. I remember, the credits hit, and I was like, what have I just watched?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's some good stuff.
Did her brother, what was the brother's character name?
Ricky.
Did he play, with that was the same actor in the sequel?
Yeah.
What's crazy to me is I thought his acting was great in the first film, and in the second one, I was like, this is horrible.
That does happen. That can happen a lot with people who have, maybe a fairly legendary part when they're really, really young. Do they bother to take acting classes after that?
Yeah.
I don't know. So help me God, I don't know.
When you're younger, you're not really, you might not be taken into all the insecurities as an adult that you might have and thinking over what you're doing. But
yeah,
it also could have been directing too. But I was just like, his acting was so noticeably bad, and there's that kind of and that pause, he was waiting, and I'm like, this is where they should have cut the scene. He's just waiting for the next line.
Well, that's not his fault. That's editing's fault.
Yeah.
So the whole thing with Ricky's hands. Mm-hmm. He actually played her in a wig in the canoe scene, and in the scene with Judy.
Yeah, the doorway. Judy,
where you can't quite tell. A little bit more obvious on my big screen, but and then I guess the deal was the Felissa Rose's mom didn't want her to be a killer, act out being a killer, and so they had.
That's interesting.
Jonathan Tiersten or whatever his name is.
Do the actual
murder scenes. Yep. So let's real quick. We don't have a lot of time. Let's real quick talk about Return to Sleepaway Camp.
Return to Sleepaway Camp, 2008.
Oh, we didn't mention James Earl Jones' brother, Robert Earl Jones.
Oh yeah,
is one of the cooks in that first movie.
Which is so like instantly.
Yeah, you're like, oh yeah, that's totally.
Yeah, when you told me what I thought,
I want to say his name's Ben, but that could be racist.
Maybe.
I didn't realize he'd be so much older though. I thought.
Oh yeah,
I was going to see a really young James Earl Jones. So it must be his older brother.
Yeah.
Let's return to Sleepaway Camp.
Return to Sleepaway Camp.
2008.
Whole new camp. Camp Manabe.
Manabe? I just remembered it as Wannabe, but they turned the W upside down.
Okay.
Who runs the camp now?
Well, Vincent Pastore's character is the main owner, but Ronnie is a junior partner in the camp.
Ronnie the buff guy.
He
likes to work out in the middle of a field.
Looks like he doesn't lift as many weights anymore. Definitely dyes his hair, but it was great to see him.
The only one in the cast, too, who's still wearing his shorts from like the 70s.
Yeah, right?
Everyone else, that was the other thing. I didn't realize like the clothes back then were so minuscule and so tight. And versus when you jump to like 2008, it's like the big jeans and the baggy jeans.
Right.
And now we're going back towards like tighter clothes now. But I thought the fashion differences were pretty interesting to see.
I had a few pairs of shorts like that back in the early 80s. I look back and I'm like, how did anybody put up with such short shorts?
I'm glad we don't have to do it now. Like
one year for Halloween, Desiree and I were Camp Arawak counselors.
Oh, nice.
Had some pretty short shorts. There's not much photographic evidence of that.
So then you just leave the camera behind.
Yeah.
So, okay, we're in
How
2008.
does Return to Sleepaway Camp start?
Camp's already going.
Camp's already going, and 3 boys in their underwear are lighting farts.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Classic.
And then Alan
shows up.
Maybe nothing against the actor. He went for it.
He was a great actor.
He was great. I mean, I think maybe he's that way in real life. I don't know.
I don't know, but the character Alan might be the least likable character I've ever seen in anything ever.
You know what I will give him,
He reminded me a lot of a young Steve Moulton.
Oh, that's
no,
horrible.
That's not true, and I'll explain. Whoa!
I will give him that. No matter how many times he was beat down, he came back kind of smiling, and I was like, this kid either something's not clicking in his head, or he pushes through, and that was very admirable to see. I was like, I really admire that, but I hate you.
I'll give him that, but then he also doesn't learn because he constantly complains about being picked on, but he's also constantly attacking everybody.
Yeah.
Now, I'm happy to say I wasn't like that as a kid. I had the other part of being Alan, which was being the largest human being in most settings, and Alan is pretty much bigger than everybody at the camp.
Sure.
But yeah, when I was a kid, I was in school with a kid a lot like Alan, who was almost as big as me, complete jerk to absolutely everyone, but then whenever anybody gave him just a little bit back, he was like instant victim. You know, they're picking on me, but then he'd be grabbing his junk at girls at recess and what have you. Yeah, real sick.
What's the tagline for this movie?
The tagline should have been Alan survives way too long for this movie.
What should the tagline be for this movie?
Tagline.
You guys know it.
Oh, man. Yeah, we
Return to Sleep. No, what should it be? Return to Sleepaway Camp.
Return to Sleepaway.
Return to Sleepaway Camp. The dick is back.
Dare.
Return to Sleepaway Camp. Your ass stinks.
Your ass stinks.
Yes.
That should be the tagline. Because Alan says that to almost everybody.
Yeah.
Except there's one time when he's yelling at a handful of people, and instead of saying your asses stink, he just goes, fuck you, and leaves. And it's like, why not say your, like they'd already done
catchphrase?
It's they'd already done it 3 times. Give it a 4th.
Your sitcom catchphrase.
You know,
but then he brings it back for the rest of the movie right after that.
What's funny is without talking about the movie afterwards like this, because I would never, for like, I think this long, talk about that movie.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh, I saw it, you know, blah, blah. But talking about it, I'm like, okay, I probably need to watch this again.
There's something weirdly redeeming about these films. It's really strange that, like, they're so bad, but they're so much fun to watch, and there's actually a lot to think about. But yeah, so I mean, Steve's got to get going. So
Getting my
we're
shoes
gonna whip through Return to Sleepaway Camp. Doesn't feel like there's as much death in Return. It feels like there's a lot of like shoe leather. There's a lot of pacing back and forth.
Oh yeah,
and like just trying to like tell a story to trick people. So more murders happen. There's a police sheriff who shows up to give a speech about the dangers of smoking and cancer.
Right.
They got the little I've got a voice box.
Well, yeah. What are those things called? I don't know either.
Voice box? I don't know.
Can we, if I like say an ending now, does that matter?
Yeah, you can go for it.
I was gonna say with the worst prosthetics, like from the first part, well, when I first came on, I thought it was Seth Green, but once I realized it wasn't. And I was like, that's clearly prosthetics. And then I'm thinking, as we went in, I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure this is, Angela back and posing as a cop. And then when they showed like this frail, tiny body as the, in the black disguised killer, I was like, okay, clearly this is who this is.
It's Angela.
Yeah. Called it. Well, I didn't call it. I kept it to myself.
Ladies and gentlemen, he kept it. First of all, I gave him the opportunity to tell me who he thought it was. He said he didn't want to. And then he told me, he said to me, I don't know who it is. That's what you said to me in the upstairs.
I said that,
and then
jokingly.
And then he looked up. I was like, "What are you doing on your phone?"
Well, I was looking up.
I was like, "Why are you on your phone
Kate
during a
Simsey.
movie, Steve? You know the rules." And
I break that rule every day of my life.
Oh my god, you guys! He's a rule breaker. You have no idea. It's embarrassing.
Rules are meant to be broken. It's in the Bible.
And then he cheated by looking up who was in the movie and who played who.
I was looking up who played Petey.
And
I regret
and he cheated.
Nothing. No. I knew the cop was Angela. The reason I didn't want to say it is because I wanted to be wrong. I wanted them to be using the cop as a red herring.
Likely story.
And then have it be... I really wanted it to be Ronnie. I was like, it'd be so great if Ronnie, the big strong guy, the only one who was around for the early days, was the killer in this one.
I wouldn't want it to be Ronnie. I thought
it would have been awesome if it had been Ronnie.
Ronnie was the one decent character.
I'll tell you who I wanted. Did you have somebody that you wanted it to be, or...
I think I was just kind of trying to figure out who it was because I was like, well, I know it's not Alan because it's this tiny little frail body whenever you see. And so I was just I was like, I'm pretty sure it's this cop. And then I was like, who else would it be? And what is this cop's story? How are they randomly here? And like,
yeah.
But then I was just kind of just going with it. Like I wasn't really thinking too far ahead. I was just kind of enjoying it presently in the moment.
Sure. I have two feelings on who I would want it to be. Part of me wants it to be Alan because they spend so much time like making you think it's got to be somebody else,
right?
Especially if you've seen the originals, it's like it's never that main character or whatever. So I think that would have been kind of a nice, almost like anti-twist.
Yeah.
That it would just be him. The other thing is, I would have also really liked it to have been Ricky and Angela together.
Oh.
I think that would have been really because they talked about how like he goes up and visits her every week. Like, what if he broke her out and then they started killing people like a Mickey and Mallory, like going to different camps and killing people.
I did entertain the thought that maybe it was Alan's brother. Like maybe he was
sure he's framing him.
Ah, that's a very
setting him up.
That would have been a great idea. Because he's also
just about
the one who
any other
drugs.
solution is great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fine having it's. I mean, I'm happy with it being Angela. I wish it wasn't obvious, like you guys are talking about. Like I wish it wasn't like just clear cut.
Yeah.
It almost like
they shouldn't have shown the body because that really narrowed it down a lot because it's a frail body. So I knew like
the prosthetics are so bad.
Yeah, and a short tiny body was like clearly it's not these people.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna have nightmares regardless.
Favorite part of either of these movies?
Oh wow, man!
My favorite line is probably the pneumonia line. I just thought that was funny, and also Alan's. What is the saying?
Your ass stinks.
Your ass, yeah.
Your ass stinks. Mine has to be Ricky's. Just Gatling gun of profanity at the kids on the roof when they hit Angela with the water balloon. So he just I let my dad have it like that once when I was 6 years old. He pushed me down a sled hill before I was ready to go. And I got to the bottom of that hill and I just fired off every swear word I've ever heard him say. And so then seeing this movie for the first time a few years ago, when Ricky does that tirade, man, I'm like, that's just priceless.
Wait, you did that when you were 6?
I was 6 years old.
Oh my gosh.
My dad pushed me down a sled hill too early, and I got to the bottom, and I just threw
That's awesome.
every swear
I
right
think
at
when I
him.
was 15, I mouthed the F word once, and I thought I was going to be killed.
Whoa.
My dad didn't see it. My mom did, so I got lucky. If my dad would have seen it, I would have been just dead.
Yeah.
When she was like, "What did you say to me?" I was like, "Nothing."
I don't know if I really have if I can really narrow it down because
Make
we talked about how I've seen it a bunch before the podcast. Devin was asking me how many times I've seen it, and it's been a lot for the first one. And the second one, obviously, your ass stinks. I think is hilarious that he just says it over and over and over again. And then for the original, I mean, I just love the ending. I love the ending.
It's a great twist.
I love how just out of left field it feels. Even though they tell us in the movie, this is the solution to this.
Yeah.
And I appreciate a movie that tells you the solution, earlier in the film. You just don't figure it out. I like the cop's fake mustache an awful lot.
Yeah. It's so weird.
Yeah. There's so much. The weird...
Judy.
What's that? Judy is great.
I hated her, but I
hilarious.
loved her just appearing in every scene and just upset and just like...
She's angry at the world.
Mm-hmm.
Judy. I think there's a message in part one.
Yeah.
That maybe it's not entirely intentional.
Yeah.
But I think it definitely is there. And that is, don't force people to be something they're not.
Absolutely.
That's what the doctor is doing to poor Angela.
Mm-hmm.
And she snaps.
Well, and everybody does that to her, right?
Yeah.
Why don't you get in the pool? Why don't you take the shower with us? Why don't you talk to boys? Why don't you talk more? Why don't you play softball? It's or volleyball.
If the writer is trans or something.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I think
Writer is the director.
I think Desiree Gould, who played the mom, might be. It's hard to say.
Might be what?
Might be trans.
Oh, I don't know.
It's hard to say. I tried
She
looking
was
up the info. I
great.
couldn't find anything that was concrete.
I don't.
But I was like,
feel like I know why that would be.
Might be trans.
There were no.
well, it's
She
a
was-
movie that's dealing with the trans issue
Yeah.
long before its time.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The movie's ahead of it, right?
Although
Isn't the
then
movie ahead of
again,
its time?
it's what, 2 years after Tootsie. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, she was
That was
so
drag.
underused. Yeah.
True.
She was very underused of the mom.
Yeah, I could go with like a 10 more minutes of mom scenes
Yeah.
would have been hilarious.
Although
Yeah.
I think
She's
the
so
first
funny.
30, 40 seconds, I was like, oh, God, what is this?
You're like, what did I get myself
Yeah.
into?
And then once you just accept it and you go and you're like, oh, this is kind of great. This woman's off.
Yeah, she's off her rocker. She's
Yeah.
got the
I should really find out if that is
Thing that
if that woman is trans or not.
I don't know.
I don't think
I
she
don't.
that
was.
I didn't get the
but
feeling.
I would
mean,
be-
it's not like you can always tell just by looking at someone, but I didn't get that vibe.
No, I don't think so. But I'd be interested to know if the writer was based on all these things that are
Yeah.
egged into the script, I guess.
Well, probably not at the time. Less likely at the time. Maybe now.
Yeah, maybe now.
But yeah. So that was Sleepaway. So we have to pick a new movie.
Oh,
If it's a modern movie, it's going to be 2.
can I pick it?
Yeah, we're going to let Devin pick. All right. Just...
Oh my gosh, there's so many.
Oh, there are.
Do you know what's in here?
Whoa!
I mean, we put them all in there.
Okay.
So technically, yes.
I found it.
All right, Devin's picking our poison here.
In the Heat of the Night.
All right, so it'll be by itself.
Whoa!
So it's just the one movie.
Oh.
If it's modern, like
How old is this?
90s, 2000s, 70s.
Okay.
That's Sidney Poitier, right?
Can I pick one more just to see if I like it better because I'm a guest? And
All right, we're gonna let Devin decide which. We'll let him pick one more,
Whoa.
and then he can decide which one he wants. But if it's modern, then it's got to be In the Heat of the Night.
Okay. The Last Metro.
Yeah, there would be either one. We would just keep just single. The Last Metro is a foreign.
Okay.
Let's stick. I would think we should stick with it in the Heat of the Night. But
Do you want to just do it? I don't want to break your rules.
I mean,
But here,
I told
let's,
you you could
let's
choose.
throw the Metro back, and
Okay.
we'll just
The
stick with the
Last
original.
Metro?
But what is the Last Metro about?
How to describe Last Metro? Here, I'll just pull it up.
Can I read this real quick while you pull that up?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, so I found an article here saying the author writes, Angela's aunt Martha, played by Desiree Gould, When I and several of my peers initially saw this, we assumed she was a very convincing drag queen whose dialogue had been dubbed by a different actress. And then he writes her plasticine performance, blah, 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 makeup and what have you. Many fans over the years have assumed that Martha and even Gould might be a trans woman. And then he writes, Gould is not a drag queen nor a trans woman, but you can bet that Hiltzik wanted audience to make that assumption. Very interesting. So I'm not the only one who thought of this possibility. I will say this: she reminded me a lot of Hedwig, and I love Hedwig.
So it's Truffaut doing a movie about, I think they're theater owners in Paris, trying to deal with like Nazi invasion.
Oh, these aren't all horror movies.
No.
Oh, and okay, so then what is in the
Devin's
Heat of the
new
Night?
to our podcast. Yeah. He's never listened to us, so thanks a lot, Devin.
But you know what? I did. Breaking it. Well, now I'm going to start listening, and I'm going to know.
Oh, yay. Yeah, we did. What are some of the hits? Dr. Zhivago.
Oh my God, Dr. Zhivago.
Well, you go all the way back to the beginning. We did
probably one of my favorite episodes ever was Over the Edge.
Oh well, yeah, you like that one. You picked that one.
Tales of Halloween was a doozy.
Oh boy. Well, that's some non. I was thinking like give him some examples of some non. North by Northwest. We've done
Northwest, our first episode, baby.
North by Northwest and Sophie's Choice, which I was like really against watching, but I loved it. I ended up loving the movie.
So they're all movies that neither of you have seen.
One of us can. One of us has to have never seen it.
Right.
Okay.
One of us can, but
So, do you need to tell your listeners that it's in the heat of the night?
yeah, they heard all that.
Oh.
They've been listening. They've been listening. Presumably, they've been listening this whole time.
Who's
It
that?
is
Sidney
in
Poitier?
the heat of the night.
In the heat
for
of the night.
anyone.
Not the series, the movie.
The movie, correct?
The series went on for years.
Yeah, no, just the movie.
Well,
I got to get out the door.
All right. Well, so we're gonna say goodbye, Devin. Thank you for being
thank you
on
guys
the
for
podcast.
having me.
Thank
That
you,
was
Devin.
fun.
Maybe you can fill in for Steve sometimes because he's a slacker and it's hard to.
I'm not a slacker.
He's busy.
I have several different enterprises I'm working
Although
on.
I will give you props. This is 3 episodes that are getting released in the month of October. So
It's going to be intense.
awesome, dude. All right, everyone. Thank you all for listening.
For listening. Check out
And-
Dope by Devin Dygert and Wes
Oh.
Weizenhofer.
Yeah, definitely.
Follow him
And,
on Instagram.
Go to, what's your Twitter, Wes? It's
At VTRT Movies.
at VTRT Movies.
That's the podcast one.
Well, I think you guys should go and let us know what you thought of the movie because let's open discussion.
Yeah, feel free to make us a Camp Manabe shirt that says "Your ass stinks."
I need double
or that
X.
cool ringtone.
I'll wear that in my next video.
Yeah, yeah, sure. All right, everyone. Thanks again. Bon cinema.